Okay, good evening, everyone. Meteorologist Seth Bonoff here, hopping on our digital platforms to provide just a little bit of coverage on some of our ongoing severe weather here in the area. There's not a whole lot of area-wide coverage of this. In fact, we've just got one storm that has a warning. Everything else is still remaining outside of our area. However, that warning is a tornado warning. That one is heading towards McLean County. Actually included in that warning is the Bloomington Normal area as well. These storms, or this particular storm, I should say, is moving very, very slowly. Let's take a look real quick at what they put at the last warning. So they say this one is moving at 20 miles an hour to the east. So still a very slow moving storm. It has taken a while here to get to where it has. But again, this is going to include parts of western McLean County into central McLean County. That does include the Bloomington Normal area here. That storm, like I said, 20 miles an hour. If we just kind of draw things out, we can time things out for anyone that is in that polygon right now. This storm looked a little better at one point than what it currently does. There's still enough kind of rotation happening there in the middle of it to continue that warning over here into McLean County. So let's, again, use our tool here, take that over into the rest of the area that is seeing this storm. And again, over the next hour or so, it's going to take every bit of an hour here to get to the end of this warning polygon. So if we drag that up a little bit out of the way of where our storm is currently being tracked, there's a list of some towns along the way here in the path of this thing. So it is about 6:40 right now, just before 6:40. And we have got those places that are in the path of that. That does include the Bloomington area. That is set around 40 minutes from now. So just because there's some time doesn't mean that you should let your guard down or relax, because these storms are on their way. If you are in that warning, you need to be in your tornado safe spot and taking the right steps to make sure that you are safe from the storm. I want to show you a view that we had earlier here from the storm. We've got Chief Meteorologist Kevin Leidy out on that storm, but this is what he saw at one point earlier. Let me see if I can enhance that view just a little bit to get rid of some of the stuff there at the bottom, get you the best view that we can here. So I'm going to grab this. We're going to just open it up. Well, yeah, there we go. This will work too. Okay, so we got it like that, and I'll let this play out here real quick. So this was what Kevin saw earlier when he was on that storm. This was near Delavon, if I am not mistaken, and that did produce a tornado for about maybe 15 or 20 seconds or so. You can see it right there on the right side of the screen out across the field. I had a really good view on it there for a little bit. Again, did not last too terribly long, and to my knowledge, we have not had any other touchdowns aside from this one, but this is the exact same storm, and it is slowly moving again out there towards the McLean County area. But that was the view from the storm tracker earlier, as that one did bring a tornado down there to the ground, and we had confirmation of that here at one point in time. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of loop that back to the beginning, and actually we will take a look at Kevin's view right now on that storm. And let's see his last location here. I'm just going to double check. So it appears he is on the county line right now. He is south of 122, and I can hear him in my ear. I'm just going to let him take it away. Kevin, let us know where exactly you're at and what's happening there with that storm.
Yeah, I'm actually right on the county line there, McLean County line. I am basically south of the Stanford area, which is kind of one of those first little villages, towns there in far western McLean County. You're looking into the storm that it has cycled a little bit here, but this is what has been rolling across the area over the last 90 minutes or so. Excuse me. And, briefly, we'll start to, get its act together a little bit more. As you can see right there, as I kind of zoom in a little bit, sometimes you'll get a little bit more of a lowering at times into this thing here, and just kind of monitoring it as it comes into western McLean County. Yeah, as you showed there, that video of that funnel that kind of came across there, and possibly like touching down there just briefly, just enough there to consider it a tornado. But now we're looking at this storm here that is it's now going due east. It's going, it was going northeast for a really long time. But now this storm is basically going straight to the east. And so it has made us, have to kind of adjust course a couple of times here. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to pull off here for a second and give you guys a little bit of a better view on the camera for just a second. So just bear with me here, and I'll show it to you. Fire up there. But again, we are in the storm tracker here with you, doing some digital coverage here for our folks up there in the McLean County. And I'm just going to kind of show you the view. Let me fire up this camera here. We've got cameras. And so here's that view again of the storm that is out here. That is tornado warning. I'm not seeing anything significant here. But again, this thing has really kind of pulsed up and down quite a bit, taking on some characteristics where sometimes you get maybe a little funnel, a little lowering at times, and then starts to rotate a little bit. So again, we're just kind of watching this here as that comes across. Again, my location, I am right on the county line, essentially, just to the west of Stanford, which is in far western McLean County. On this now very high precipitation supercell that has maintained itself for a really long time. So that is what we're looking at here. You can see again, maybe a little info trying to come into the storm. We are going to start to lose daylight here, so it'll be a little bit more difficult to see things for too long. But at least we're on it here right now. It is 6:44 p.m. On this Friday night. So if you're just hanging here with us watching the coverage, we'll continue to follow along and let you know what we see with this. But as I kind of look at things here, guys, yeah, the storm maybe losing some of its punch a little bit as far as the structure on it, but on the course of the next hour or so. And obviously, there's a storm that's right behind that one. They actually take a similar path. You see that? Oh, wow. So that's what we're looking at here right now. So we'll send it back to you for now, and I'll keep it to you with anything else. But the storm here looks to be a little bit more of a lightning producer more than anything. Look at that lightning starting to pick up. That also sometimes be an indicator of some strengthening of the storm. But I don't know. We'll see, guys. So what's going on there back there at the studio? I see, man, those lightning. Boy, that's why I'm not getting out.
Yeah, I was gonna say, stay in the vehicle there, Kevin. I'm sure you'll be all good that way. One thing I do want to show, kind of talking about what Kevin was. I'm gonna trace back the storm that he's on, then we'll talk about that new tornado warning to the west of that here in just a sec. We talked about right there near Delavan is where this thing started to get going. You can see what the velocity signature looked like there at one point in time, just north of town there. As we played this thing out, it kind of did go through some cycling there for a little while, but as it moved to the east, it's still that really vibrant velocity signal. Now, as it's approached the county line, you can see things just kind of collapse, become a little less evident there on the velocity picture. And now we've speeded up to present time. It's hard to tell what's going on there. Again, we've seen from Kevin's images there, there's still that storm. The whole thing is still in place, but velocity just not quite the same as what it was at one point in time. But still, if you're in that tornado warning polygon, things can happen in an instant. So be in your tornado safe spot anywhere here in this area as it heads towards the Bloomington-Normal area. Also, another tornado warning out to the west. This one has a nice little velocity signature on it. For more on that, I'm going to send things to meteorologist Jacob Dickey. Jacob, looks like another one kind of piggybacking off that previous storm.
Yeah, that's right. So just kind of watching the ball. When you look at the storms, there's a warm front that's here, and I'm going to show you what it looks like here. First off, look at the width of the tornado watch. In our area, it's wide. That's because that warm front is located right along in there, and so we continue to monitor that and watch it. The storms that latch on have the chance to be. Now, earlier tonight, we had some issues, some storms that came through. For earlier storms, they tried to latch onto the warm front, but they really struggled, and that's kind of weak. I think they might have gone north of the warm front, and I'm a little suspicious maybe this year is doing that as well. We'll look at temperatures in a minute and kind of assess that, but as we monitor here, eye on where that front is, because this one, to me clearly, is on that. This is back in Mason County. East of Havana coming down 136 right there, and we're kind of watching things to see how that evolves.
I'm going to pause you for just a sec, Jacob. I'm not sure if our microphone 8 problem has been solved. I don't think people can. I think they're hearing you off of my microphone. So give it a Tapper. Okay, yeah, even Kevin can't. So I'm going to stand next to you here to make sure. I'm going to stand next to you. You can keep going, but it sounds like my microphone's the only way people are going to be able to hear you.
Okay, how's that? Is that a lot better?
That looks good.
Well, shoot, I should turn my microphone on, right?
Oh no! Oh no!
Some
Okay.
point, Kevin, you're in on this now, Kevin. I turned it off. I just had to take care of some things, and I turned it off. So
we have
I got
stopped and started coverage a couple times, so things happen. But anyway, now we got that figured out. Okay, go ahead.
All right, so my apologies there. That's that little thing. So we'll let Kevin go, and he works on things there. So again, what I was saying is we were watching these storms. It's the warm front, the key player here tonight. Last night it was all about that cold front kind of pushing on through with that round number 2. This time it's a warm front, and it's obvious where that front is. Of course, the tornado watch is in place. It's very narrow. There's yellow counties until 10 p.m. tonight. For our area, it's just Livingston, Ford, Iroquois, McLean counties, and then down towards Morgan, north of Morgan County there, north of Sangamon County. It doesn't include those. It does include Cass and Menard County, though. And then we got some West Indiana counties. And you can see even in Indiana towards Fort Wayne, there's a tornado warning that is along that warm front. That is kind of where we see things spinning on up here. Now, with this storm, this here is the storm that Kevin is on right now, that Seth was showing you and we heard from Kevin on. It doesn't look impressive at this point. It kind of lifted a little more north. It produced the tornado down by Delavon. But as we watch that storm there, then Kevin's talking in my ear there. I hear you, Kevin. Behind it, there's another little storm. If you look at the past trend, those storms kind of tried moving east, and then it really picked up north and east there. It may try and recycle, but that maybe works out better for folks that are the south side of Bloomington Normal. Still, though, all of Bloomington, all of Normal, all of Danvers, out towards the Hudson area, up towards Towanda, should be in shelter for this as it moves in that direction. So, going to keep an eye on that. I want to peek in here. Kevin was saying, watch that little Tremont cell on the backside. And let's just flip on velocity, because you'll see it's not quite as strong as was earlier. That's going to be something that is a little more evident. There's not a whole lot in there. You can see here earlier, I hope so, compared to now, how much less rotation there's at that lowest scan. In the meantime, the new storm that's in Mason County there, back originally where the storm came through, that is causing its own set of problems. And the rotation a lot stronger on that one there. So we're keeping a close eye on that. And if I back this up, we'll see here in the last few runs how that rotation has started to pick up. And the orientation of that rotation, to me, suggests that by the time this storm gets closer to Delavon, that might be a chance for it to produce another tornado if it continues on that track there. Now, real quick, we're going to use our Weather Watcher network, Seth, to kind of show those temperatures and take a peek at that. So we'll give it a second to load here. Notice in Graymont and Cissna Park, 65 and 63. It's 66 in Gibson City, 74 in Weldon. And I'll zoom in a little bit more. We've got some different zones we can look at. So let me zoom into our northern zone here. That's where the front is. So 75 in Clinton, 73 Farmers City. It's 54 up in Dwight, according to this one here. The front sits right across the middle of that transition there. And it makes sense as we look at that. Again, south of the warm front, warm, unstable air. Along the warm front, you get your rotation. It can up enhance that. And then north of the warm front, storms become elevated. It's pretty close to that Bloomington storm there. But as we go back further to the west there, and maybe I have a different zone I can show, just kind of remember how it was built. Bear with me for a second there. But as we go towards the Springfield zone, you can kind of imagine where that warm front is. So the storm that was down here is in that warm, unstable air. The Bloomington storm is along that warm front, and that's very concerning because it means it can still really spin up quickly. And then the storm that was by Gibson City earlier may have gone north of the warm front. So that's the focus zone, is where that transition is. I don't have any concerns tonight for Springfield. I don't have any concerns for Decatur. I really don't think it's an issue anywhere south of Champaign. It's just this northern strip of counties that's their stuff, and that is the big issue with this here. And not only we got to talk about the tornado threat, but hail also an issue, right? Seth?
Yeah, the other radar product over here on our other computer showed 4+ inch hail, and I hopped onto ours. This product on our actual system tends to underestimate the hail sometimes. So we've got close to 3.5 inch hail, and if I believe, is that softball size close to that? I'm not sure.
Getting there. National Weather Service has it warned for 2 inch.
Okay, so it's warned for 2 inch. But like I said, this product tends to kind of underestimate the size of the hail.
Yeah,
So there is
you're right
a
about that.
big core there inside of that storm that is, like we said, piggybacking off the last one, kind of heading towards a similar area. Also, to stay on top of our storm that is into the McLean County area, it looks like the Bloomington camera, we don't have control over where it's pointing, but it looks like it has been moved to look out there to the west. So we're able to kind of see the leading edge of the storm as it moves on in. We kind of make out just a little bit of details. It gets closer, very high contrast there, or a very low contrast. You can't really tell the exact details, but you can kind of see the roundness of the storm as it moves on in. Actually, a pretty neat view moving in there into our Bloomington camera area. So again, that storm, maybe not the immediate threat that it appeared to be at one time. You're still under a tornado warning out that direction, though. So just make sure that you are heeding the appropriate measures here, making sure that you are staying safe from
Especially with that warm front being good.
Yes,
That's
especially
the
because of
big
that,
concern.
because things can just happen here in a very short period of time. We've seen that happen with a lot of these storms. They've been in existence for a little while, and then things just really get going there in about 10 or 15 minutes. So even though you're seeing the images and you're not seeing a whole lot there in the velocity product, you just have to always play things safe here with this, because this starts to continue to slowly approach your area, and then all of a sudden it starts to get active. You might be, too late to be to the place you need. So that's why anytime you're in these warnings, to make sure that you are as low as possible away from those exterior walls and just covered up. Always play things safe. Of course, that is the best way to go about things. Aside from that, again, we kind of look here across the area. We're on here mainly to cover these storms up here to the north and west, because there's not a whole lot to cover anywhere else. That warm front is lifted far enough north. So if you're watching this in Springfield, Decatur, Champaign, Mattoon, Charleston, Effingham, a lot of the big cities that we cover, there's not a whole lot for us to talk about exactly where you are. Things look very clean. It's up here along that warm front where the activity is continuing to pick up here as we approach the 7 o'clock hour. It looks like we're about 5 minutes away from the 7 o'clock hour. So again, this tornado warned storm, continuing to track it. We're continuing to keep an eye out for it. Again, doesn't look like the velocity is the same that it was at one point in time, but with this moving in to, close to a very populated area there in the Bloomington Normal region, I just want to make sure that people are aware of what is happening and are taking the proper measures here. Also, what I want to do, I'm going to bring this to a loop over the last 2 hours, just to show you how slowly these storms are moving. So we're going all the way back to the 4 o'clock hour here. And just look how slowly these storms are moving. They've had about 20 or 25 mile an hour storm motion throughout their entire lifetime. So very slow moving. That gives you time to prepare, but you don't want to take that to too much advantage. You need to be where you need to be exactly when these warnings are dropped, especially because you might have to hunker down for a little bit longer with the way these storms are just kind of dragging their feet through. So that's the way these warm front storms can be sometimes. If that front starts to stall, the storm itself is going to, it's kind of riding right along it, kind of along for the ride, so to speak. So it's going to have the same sort of movement in the same direction as that warm front. I'm going to check in now and see if there's any kind of new reports from the National Weather Service. They are talking about the western storm here, so not the one in McLean County, but the one farther west, heading up there in the Mason-Tazewell County area of rotation with the Mason County storm. Appears to be tracking very close to where the earlier storm was, kind of like what we were alluding to. They said it's not uncommon, especially in a situation like we have where these slow-moving front-oriented storms. So again, that could potentially happen here with any kind of backbuilding that happens on the west side here of some of these storms. It's just going to go where the front is. It's not going to meander past it. If it does, that threat of the tornado drops because it no longer has the same kind of elements that it does here in the warm sector. I want to jump in and look at the hail size of that one again real quick, because that's just jumping off the page. Looks like it's still maybe gone down just a tiny bit. That might be 2.5. Let's see. So that's, close to that 2.5. So we're talking still, roughly up there to that baseball size there. Or maybe just a little bit short of that. So big hail in the core of this storm. In fact, let's put it back on the reflectivity, and you'll be able to clearly tell where that hail is by looking at that. We'll freeze it. We'll zoom in on it here and just look at all that. Sometimes it's very, there's a small little core of it. You can see in the storm sometimes. It's not usually as spread out as this is. When you see the white reflectivity, that's when you're talking about some seriously high values here, and that's where you're going to have some of that large hail. Not necessarily something we've talked a bunch about today, but any kind of supercell storm, if it's not just exploding, it is going to be able to produce the hail, because the stronger the cell is, the stronger winds inside it are going to be, the larger the hailstone will be before it ends up being able to fall out of that storm. So that's what's happening out there closer to the Mason and Tazewell County areas. And again, keeping an eye on our McLean County storm. You can kind of even see it shrinking a little bit, maybe not quite the same width that it had at one point in time. And it looks like this is going to stay west of Bloomington for the moment. It looks like it's just kind of stalling here. There's always an opportunity for it to kind of move one way or another, kind of to the right sometimes is where the storms will be. So we'll keep an eye out for it. It looks very stationary, though. Anyone underneath that storm is going to get a ton of rain out of it. May even see some flash flooding issues that way. But just based on the current trend, it's kind of trying to tug back there to the north. But again, make sure that you are playing things safe and not taking any chances. That warning is set to expire at 7:50. So that's got another 16 minutes on it. It looks like it's going to try to escape that box at some point. So we'll see any sort of adjustments that may be made by the Weather Service. Kind of riding the northern edge of that warning here right now, floating up there to the north, kind of hugging 150 there, and up there to the Hudson area. So again, this is on the fringe of our area here. I know we have viewers from all over the place, but that is where our lone storm is here for the moment. Just kind of hugging that front, and we're kind of at the mercy of where that front is. Eventually, it lifts through and kind of gets things out of our area, but it is a very, very slow jog that it's going to undergo. In fact, that is a good cue here. I'm going to bring up the latest on our future track. We'll see what it updates here every hour. We'll see what it's saying right now. And it's kind of getting an idea of where those storms are. Maybe just putting them a little too far to the west. But if we kind of run this through, you'll continue to see building storms in the same kind of area up there where they've been. And over the next couple of hours, we'll see what happens. That future track maybe not quite as active as ones before, but
in my car.
Uh-oh.
I'm trying to figure out if it's out of here.
There we go. Is that any better?
I'll listen.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So anyway, with that future track, yeah, we'll watch it. It's done okay here through the night. It kind of has those storms concentrated up that direction. That's why we're not too concerned about anybody south of 74 here. I should say just around 72 in parts to the south. There's not really too much going on, but there is some storm activity expected later on in the night as that cold front moves on through. We'll see what that does. It looks like a lot of elevated stuff into the night, but that is not going to be a surprise to have some thunder and lightning here in the area deeper on into the nighttime. So that is what Future Track is calling for. And, that is what we'll see later on tonight. But a lot of our stuff looks to just kind of stay off, kind of stay on the northwestern corner of the area and hopefully not jump in here too much and give us any sort of problems. So we're just kind of moving a couple things around here in the background. Just want to make sure all is good on the audio side of things. I know we kind of had a little trouble earlier, but just want to make sure that everyone listening to the stream can hear us okay. You just want to let us know kind of your opinion on how that's going. That way we can provide the best service possible here. So we're keeping an eye on your comments. And again, just want to make sure that everything is going out over the microphone clearly as can be. Okay, looks like a new warning has been issued. That is yes. Okay, so they're going to opt for a more northern warning. This does include into parts of McLean County. Let me see.
Something's up with your mic. It's not working very well.
Okay, so I'll just let you. Yeah, go for it.
So I'm not sure what it's going to be, and I'm kind of listening to the stream here now too. So we're trying to diagnose that issue a little bit. Let's see here. I'm just playing around with a few more things. Say it again, Seth. Something's going on between our switcher and there. It almost sounds echoey. And sorry, folks. Again, you're listening to us kind of figure out. It almost sounds echoey and hollow. And at times it kind of comes in and out with you.
Production can hear us pretty well.
Say again.
I'm talking again. Sorry.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. And I've been trying to play with the volumes and the levels to try and see, because I was almost thinking perhaps it was too high and kind of cutting back on that feed.
We don't have production switcher overlap, do we?
No, they're off. We're on 5. Okay. It's.
How about I just?
I'm going to turn your mic on a little bit more. Now you start talking and just kind of, again, we got the tornado warning. Just kind of verbally tell people about that severe thunderstorm warning from over there.
So we were talking about this just a moment ago. This tornado warned storm. It's kind of starting to move a little bit to the north, and we're starting to see it kind of move that direction a little bit, escape that tornado warning polygon. So that's why there's that severe thunderstorm warning that now is kind of dragging a little bit more to the north and east. So it looks like that tornado warning is going to be allowed to expire here within the next 10 minutes or so, roughly, as it has not only escaped that box, but also doesn't look like it has the same tornado concern as it did. Okay, people are saying much better. So I'm not sure what we did, if me moving to the magic spot did anything, but it sounds like that is no longer an issue. Okay, so
Magic.
Yeah,
We
I
just
don't
do
know
a
what it
magic.
was. But,
I don't know what it is, but something happened.
that one's just warned for 60-mile-an-hour gusts and quarter-size hail. So that's your pretty standard severe thunderstorm. In fact, that is the minimum criteria in both the hail and the winds. So we'll be watching for that in the northwest part of McLean County, out there closer to Hudson, and just places out that direction. So severe thunderstorm warning now. Tornado warning still there. It looks like they've trimmed it quite a bit to just kind of keep it on that area of interest. But I haven't checked in a moment, but I'd be willing to guess they're probably not anticipating anything beyond that. That's why they made it the severe thunderstorm warning to the north and east. They do have, within the tornado warning, they do have hail close to 2 inches still warned. So right there in the core of the storm. Is that right? Yeah, hail 1 3/4, but I got a different number here on my system. So either way, still watch for the strongest activity right there in the core of the storm, kind of where that polygon still is, right over the top of 74 right now, actually. So some pretty heavy rain and maybe some hail falling that way on the very far northwest part of McLean County. Other than that, let's see here. McLean County EM says confirmed report of rotation right over Danvers. So that's kind of where that area of interest still is. Let's jump into velocity here real quick. We might be able to still see, yeah, there's some signs of it. It's very broad. And of course, around this direction, I believe, we maybe have just a tiny bit of interference at times. So you can kind of see there's some noise in there.
What would cause the noise, Seth?
Yeah, it's ironic that we're talking about noise when our microphones are giving us the trouble that they are too.
No. That's the wind farm right there.
Correct. Yes. Yeah, I was going to get to that. I was just saying it's funny how we're talking about noise and stuff here, and it's even happening on our radar. We've got noise happening. But yeah, the wind turbines get caught by the radar beams every now and then. That's where you're going to see like little peaks down this direction. I think it's kind of out of that, but it may be interfering just a little bit. So just always one thing that we sometimes have to battle with sometimes.
Hey, Seth, why don't I take it for a second and kind of take a few things that I'm looking at here. And so first off, as I pull my radar up real quick there, the storm behind it, something really interesting. I actually don't think that storm coming into Tazewell and maybe far northern Logan County, I don't think the tornado potential is there right now. And I'm going to show you a couple of things on this. First off, for the structure-wise, yeah, I think we've definitely had some big hail. I think we also have had some rotation here. But the interesting thing is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw this outline here and kind of put it on the leading edge of that storm, just so we can get our bearings straight. Oh, the line closed. Let me redo that. So see that right there? So in my mind, right here would be where I would expect the tornado. The issue is, though, is when I switch this over to velocity, the wind is pushing well out ahead of them. It's much further ahead. So we're talking about the wind being a couple miles extended. That to me is a sign that perhaps what we're seeing is the rotation just not making it down to the surface. Instead, the riffling downdraft winds are kind of wrapping around the backside. So I don't think that's a big concern here. When I look at the actual radar, I think, oh yeah, maybe it's there. But what we're saying here is we're talking about velocity. Green's going towards reds, but the radar is down in Lincoln. We're getting a very decent look into the storm. In fact, we are seeing the lowest scan at about 1,500 feet off the ground. What's happening is right in here, all the way out ahead of the storm. Whoops, I pressed the button that broke it there. So I'll have to fix that. Now they're saying my audio is a little tough to hear. I got to figure out. I don't know why. It may be something of some noise cancellation is involved in that thing. We'll have to do some testing of that. And plus, me trying to figure out audio issues, and I wear hearing aids is not a great plus. So Looking at this storm, let's go back to that there. When I look at the velocity, the winds are really surging out ahead, which to me maybe makes me think the rear flank downdraft is kind of cutting it off and choking that storm off a little bit. And that's evident by this movement right here. However, there still is a little bit of inflow right there. So if something were to happen, I would be watching in that area. Now, lock your eyes in that circle that I made there, and there really isn't a whole lot of evident going on with that spot there, right? It's just not in the best spot at this point. So that's what we're looking at, is seeing that little area of rotation not really there. It's a little ways away from the point. I still think we need to treat it as if it could, because we saw how fast the Delavan tornado formed earlier. And I'll have you show the video of that here in a second for me, Seth, if you're able to. The second thing is some good news out of McLean County. The tornado warning now no longer includes Bloomington and Normal. We did trim them out. It's still here up from south of Congerville. It's going to be right on the stretch of 74 between Goodfield and the Rivian exit in the northwestern part of the county, north of Danvers. There was some rotation earlier. I don't see the what's the word? I don't see on velocity as much in there to me. It looks a little messy, but I just don't see the rotation being as evident on that. And so that maybe is some better news. And remember, the warm front is right in this area, and that means these storms could fairly quickly cause some issues. So we're just watching all of them. They kind of lift north, they move east. This is the only really area that we've got concerns on. Iroquois Ford County, you're under a watch now. There's no storms in your county right now. Livingston County, those storms north of Bloomington trying to come your way. But I think once we get north of US 24, I think the severe threat is even lower because the front is still south of there. And then I'm not worried about I-72 corridor over towards Danville and anywhere south, because I don't think there's any storms that can go on with that. So we're just going to watch all of that. We maybe are entering a period where things look just a little bit better for us here. All right, Seth, you're going to pull the ScanView computer
Yes,
up there.
there we go.
That. And let me find that source. Here we go. So again, this was the tornado earlier that Kevin got. He was in the northeast side of Delavan. Go ahead and roll that for me. And this was about 6 o'clock. We did have that one confirmed tornado there. Kevin got it and saw that. Hats off to him. Now he's still kind of cruising around in western McLean County there and watching. But he got this about 6 o'clock, a little over an hour ago, which is why these warnings happen. So kind of keeping a close eye on those things there. So there's his view now. And as I pull it up, there's his view now. He's still looking into those storms. And I actually haven't seen his location, Seth. Have you seen his exact location by chance?
Let me check here real quick, unless he beats me to it in the ear, but I've not looked at his icon here. I'll get it pulled up real quick. And
there he is. So he's kind of still cruising around. I think he's going back west. If I know where he's at, he's heading on route the highway there west from Shirley, and is probably doing that. Kind of looking at the direction he's heading. So
he said he's popping back north now.
Oh, he is going north. Okay, so he is looking north of that storm there.
It's kind of north and west of Shirley, it looks like. Yep.
There he is. And don't call me serious. Wait,
yeah,
what?
there you go.
So that's Kevin's shot there. Do you have that other video of the storm as well?
Yes, I got it loaded up here in the background. Let me grab it real quick.
Okay, so this was another video we got from Eli, and Eli is actually from Muhammad. He's probably going to take your and I job one day. Just so you know. So there's the video that he caught of that. I put it on my Facebook page.
Loop back here just a sec.
Yeah, so there we go. He's a high schooler. He chases with his dad. Sounds like a familiar story for both of us, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And go out and watch things. And good guy from Muhammad. I think he's a sophomore now, maybe freshman. I can't remember.
Pretty good work either way.
Yeah, he's given us a lot of tornado video recently. So he's sending me messages. Hey, look, we got the tornado. And actually, I'm pretty sure Kevin's in front of him when he turns the corner here. So that was video that came in from. All right, I'm going to show the SPC risk real quick. I think just to kind of give folks, there really isn't a whole lot of risk, but you kind of see where we've had these issues right in line with that slight risk that's there. But we do have that tornado watch that's in effect, and that tornado watch goes in effect until 10 o'clock. And so that's something that we're keeping a close eye on here. And I'll pull that up real quick so you can see the area-wide view of that. It's not that much of an area. I mean, it's a very small area that's included, Seth, but this is that prime zone with that warm front thing. That's the key with today. So about another 3 hours on that tornado watch. Seth, did you have something, Kevin? I don't have his mic on.
He is trying to know the exact location of where the warm front is what he's wanting to know.
Oh, gotcha. I'll work with him on that then.
In the meantime, here, we did have one additional warning, non-severe warning that popped in. It was a flash flood warning, kind of talked about the threat that these storms are kind of build on top of each other. They've kind of gone through the same route there over that warm front. So this is a pretty long flash flood warning, and it looks like it only just catches the northwest corner of McLean County there, but that one's in effect for the next several hours. We just kind of zoom out here at our current warnings. That's all we got. We got the one severe thunderstorm warning clipping northwestern McLean County. Also got that flash flood warning that extends well to the west in Tazewell County. Still have that tornado warning that looks like it's going to go away here in about 75 seconds or so, according to the clock we have in here. So that will likely disappear here before too terribly long. And it looks like, Jacob, you've kind of got some numbers up there to position that front a little bit.
Yeah, so a couple of the weather network, I need to update a few of them, but you get the idea. It's Toronto is at 65, it's 64 in Lexington, it's 67 in Saybrook, Gibson City's at 65. I actually think the warm front is south of Route 9, which would make sense looking at McLean County as well. When I pop in some of those numbers for the area, I think that storm northwest of Bloomington is north of the warm front. The warm front to me is more in that Logan County, Tazewell County area, and then it kind of comes down a little bit. 73 in Weldon, 73 in Villa Grove there, Seth, and kind of get another view of some different numbers there. You can see Parmer City at 73. It's 66 in Paxton, 52 up in Dwight. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. Seth?
Yep, sounds good. Yeah, pretty good analysis there, especially with that McLean County storm. Just kind of lifting up there to the north. Looks like it's kind of becoming detached from everything that's going on. Another check-in here of our storm just off to our west. Just to the northwest of the Lincoln radar. So we're getting a very close to the ground view of this one. Let's loop that again here for a little bit. That hail core was impressive about 30 minutes ago. Now it looks like things aren't quite as put together. And it looks like that warning has also expired. Not necessarily been removed, but expired. We'll see what the next step in that is. And it looks like both tornado warnings have expired. We knew that was going to happen with the McLean County one. Not 100% sure what the next move is here on this storm just off to the west of it. It, too, doesn't look like it did at one point in time. If we pop on velocity and just kind of take a look down at her. So it's still got some of those velocity fields in there, but not quite as bright, not quite as put together as we saw at one point in time. So even it's not what it was here earlier, as that rotation is somewhere right there around Allens Grove and Malone. And again, that one has had its warning removed. Let me check real quick to see if there is any word on any further warnings. And it does not look like there is any sort of word on continuing any of those warnings. So we're actually, I almost never warning free. We do have that one still across northwestern McLean County, but it looks like we are tornado warning free all across the state of Illinois right now. We've just got that one severe thunderstorm warning. So good news there. Looks like there's not enough evidence to keep things under that tornado warning threshold. It looks like, yes, they've even expired the severe thunderstorm warning there on that western storm. Let's zoom in here, kind of north of Bloomington. Maybe there's a little extra signature trying to pop up there north, kind of close to I-39 there. How recent that features. Well, like we said, that one's kind of off the warm front right now, so it doesn't appear like that will. You can still see something kind of going on there. So we'll keep an eye out for that. Maybe heading up there in the northern part of McLean County eventually, depending on how far north it can continue to go. Maybe Livingston County there at some point in time, but we'll keep it. Sounds good. Okay, thank you. Oh man, how about that? Look at the leading edge of that storm out there in Bloomington. Let me bring this full here for you so you guys can just kind of behold what's happening. I'll get that switched around here real quick. And there we go. So you can see the leading edge of that storm. That looks pretty cool. And I think would be the right word to describe it. Maybe a little intimidating depending on what you think of the weather. As someone who, of course, follows it like we do, I think this is a pretty neat look. Kind of more bark than bite, that leading edge. Just kind of a little ominous there in the distance. But that's when you can kind of tell some strong winds are involved here in these storms. And yeah, that's a pretty cool view out there in Bloomington. A little bit of lightning there on the camera as well. All those storms starting to tail a little bit to the north. And let's see here. I play things out on a computer over here on the side, and Again, I do not have control over this camera, so it looks like that one. I'm not sure if it's MBD who has this camera or who's in control of it, but we're at their mercy with wherever this one is looking. But that is the as the view there from our Bloomington camera. And let's see. Getting a couple more comments about maybe an audio issue or two. So just continue to let us know if we're losing stuff or not. I think for the most part we're good. Sometimes it's just a case-to-case basis. I won't worry about that too long as no one's kind of jumping out there and saying it in big numbers there. Okay, so let me jump back in on the storm. It's up there in northwestern McLean County. Loop here over just the last 30 minutes. You can kind of see, let me bring myself back up here. So you can kind of see here in the last 30 minutes, a couple of little tiny cells have jumped in to kind of join the storm. So maybe that's kind of organizing things just a little bit here for a brief period of time. We'll see what happens between those tiny little storms jumping onto the south side of that one and perhaps kind of giving it a little more structure than it did about 10 minutes ago. Because if we take a look at velocity here, we're going to be able to see things maybe tightening up a little bit. So, and this is just west of I-39, just outside of Hudson. I'm just watching this feature to see what it's going to do. Again, this didn't look like anything too intimidating about 10 minutes ago, but maybe some of those cells merging in are starting to bring that together here just a little bit more. But still, just that severe thunderstorm warning right now. We'll see if the Weather Service sees enough to kind of add anything to this severe thunderstorm warning at the very least. I'll be curious to know what happens next. Because it does look like things have kind of organized just a little bit more south and west of Hudson there. So we'll keep an eye out for that. Again, right on the edges of our viewing area here. So there's a lot of places. If you're just now tuning in, let's zoom things back after a little bit. Kind of just do a little reset. It is 20 minutes past 7 p.m. Our warm front is continuing to lift here across the area, and there's not a whole lot of storm coverage here in the area as a whole. We look at the map. I mean, if anyone is tuning in and watching from Effingham, Mattoon, Charleston, Shelbyville, Decatur, Springfield, Champaign, Danville, all the big towns here in the area, at least most of them, there's nothing happening where you are. There's likely not going to be anything happening here in the next hour or so for places that I just mentioned there. It's all the stuff up here to the north and west that is continuing to be right underneath that warm front or maybe right up there to the north just a little bit. So that is why we, again, are kind of following these is because of those storms up that way that have been knocking on our door here for a little bit. There's a lot of places that have avoided it, and we kind of knew that going in. We knew the risk was going to be in a similar spot to what we saw yesterday, where it kind of targeted northwestern Illinois. Kind of got more of Iowa yesterday as well. Kind of the same situation here tonight with some of these storms. So that is where activity is centralized. If you're just jumping in, kind of wondering why we're on the stream, what's happening, there's really not much happening here across much of the area. It's the stuff up here to the north and west that continues to be what we are watching and monitoring here this evening. Weather Service says, yeah, they noticed the rotation. They think it is starting to move north of the warm front. So we kind of talked about that. Maybe there's just kind of a temporary increase in that rotation. With it being north of that front, there's not a huge concern, but that doesn't mean for a brief period of time, some funny business can't go on there for just a little bit. But does not look like they are too concerned about that. But definitely a signature on radar that was picking up there by the scan as some of those cells merged on in and perhaps enhanced the way everything was moving around inside that storm. And you can still kind of see it. Maybe plateauing here just a little bit, not strengthening too much on the last scan, but still kind of present. So we'll watch that feature again, just outside of Hudson there, close to White Oak as well. Kind of taking a little bit of a, I got my loop backed up really big there. Kind of moving more to the northeast. So I kind of made that right turn earlier, now kind of turning back there to the left a little bit. And eventually getting outside of McLean County here before too long. Again, I want to show you that view there in Bloomington, where things are looking a little shelf-ish. Yes, that shelf cloud moving out there. So kind of just a neat view of the storms there in the distance, a little bit of occasional lightning as well. So again, these things look pretty intimidating from a distance. These shelf clouds, the leading edge of these storms, often look that way, even if things aren't really all that intense within the storm. They've always kind of got that look, that definition to them in the distance. That kind of makes people think, uh-oh, here it comes. But in this case, I'm going to stay just outside of the Bloomington normal area, well off to the north and parts of that direction as well. Checking back in here on the radar of that western storm, it too does not have the same features that it had at one point in time. Again, that one's still on the side of the front to maybe keep an eye out for, kind of right there on the edge of it. But right now, not the same look that we had earlier. Again, we back it up. We see the big hail core on that at one point in time. And, no longer is displaying those same kind of features. In fact, let me pull up the hail swath, and I think give it a second to load here. Usually, I might have to. There we go. So yeah, there you go. There was the there we go. So there was the entire track of the hail of that storm as it started to move east of Havana there, kind of along 136. We had one point here. You see these orange colors. If we drop a little indicator in there to see how big that was 3.5 inches at one point in time. We're close to it. So close to softball size hail at one point in time. But as it's moved off to the east, as we get to these purples, these blues, that's when it starts to drop in size. So that storm was a little bit of a beast there for a moment, but now has started to kind of empty itself of its contents here as it's moved off to the east. Now dropping all that rain, all that hail has been left behind, and we're not seeing nearly the same hail size that we did earlier. The hail swath on the storm that is still in northwest Plain County doesn't look horrible, but it's still kind of right along that severe threshold. So not too much concern there with that. That is some pretty manageable hail, pretty standard stuff that happens within some of these storms. Okay, so that's on the hail side of things. Back up our radar picture. Our lone warning is in effect. Looks like they trimmed it just a little bit. It is in effect until I believe that is 8 o'clock. So they've got this one going here for just a period of time, and that may be more so just because of the slow moving nature of it, putting it in motion. It's not really racing to escape that box anytime soon. So probably some flooding concerns. You're going to just have constant thunder and lightning with that as well. In fact, that's something I haven't shown a ton of here. Is the lightning. Lots of gold lightning bolts on there. The positive strike, which indicates a little bit extra strength there in the storm. So plenty of thunder and lightning over the same spot. Anyone out that way is probably just hearing it constantly. That storm to the west, not quite seeing the same frequency of lightning. In fact, a lot of kind of darker shaded lightning bolts. That indicates that is an older strike. So not as many recent strikes there with that one, which would indicate kind of the direction it's trending. A little cluster west of that, once again, same kind of area. This is where that middle storm right now, the storm in between, the one to the northeast and the one to the southwest, this is where it was moments ago, and then now it looks like a round 3 of sorts starting to form up behind that. Not much happening within that storm out there along the Havana area out there towards Lewistown, but some more rain, some more thunder, some more lightning, just general storm activity happening out that way. Some more building continues, but largely we've avoided anything serious from getting here into our area. I'm trying to think back here. We did have some warnings in the air at one point in time. We had one that looked like it could maybe produce a tornado at one point just outside of the Gibson City, Paxton area. We had a strong storm out there closer to Danville at one point in time. None of those ended up actually producing anything. Maybe one of our early storms ended up getting a tornado warning out there, and I think Benton County in Indiana. That was with that early round that has moved on out. Since then, we haven't seen too much more up till that point in time. Jacob, what's happening over there?
Hey, I wanted to draw the warm front, and I've been kind of analyzing the atmospheric ingredients right now. This is where I think that warm front is, and based on what I've been looking at. So you get the idea. Those storms, when they got to Delavan there, they kind of rode along it, and then something forced them north of that. And that front kind of sits over the Bloomington Airport. North of the front has an east wind. So anyone who's watching, if you're up in Livingston, Fort, Iroquois, McLean counties, even Peoria, Tazewell counties, if you happen to step outside, first off, if you're in the rain and thunder, disregard this. But if you're out here, ahead of it or behind it, if the wind is out of the east, you probably first off feel a little cooler, and you're dealing with less tornado potential at this point because of the front south. Everyone here, Champaign-Urbana, Gator, Springfield, we've got a south wind that's blowing in, and so that's not where that front sits. So this makes sense to me because we saw a couple times where storms organized by Havana caused problems in Tazewell County, but they were kind of riding north and east, a slight north, and once they got too far north, they got cut off and lifted to the north. And so that's why I don't think that tornado potential is as much of a concern here. If that storm there coming into Bloomington could have rode the front east into town, there are some very prime ingredients still remaining, and kind of the sweet spot in analyzing things at this point. The sweet spot for storms and tornadoes is kind of in that area right there. I don't think that far south to Lincoln, DeWitt, Champaign actually is going to get storms. You need a spark. The spark in the atmosphere is kind of a little upper level energy swinging on down the warm front, and that's been producing them along and just north. And so that maybe is better for us here. But when we look at the storms that are in place, I kind of think that these storms are probably still going to be hail and wind producers. One thing we'll have to watch is now that darkness is falling on us, and this is the view from Kevin in the storm tracker, we're losing that light. Sometimes in the evening, the low-level jet can pick up. The low-level jet is just a source of additional wind shear here. Basically, it helps storms to pick up in intensity a little bit. So we'll be watching these clusters back here towards Delavan and into Mason County yet again to see if anything can come from that. There also is a little bit of convection trying to pop here northwest of Springfield. Can we get something a little further south? It's struggled, but maybe as it gets north through Logan County and on the way to McLean County, maybe that's a source for it here for where that's at. So just kind of watching that again. Bloomington, the airport reports an east wind, and I was kind of you're going to show some of the guidance here. I was kind of looking through that. That east wind is it's right in or just south of Bloomington, which that's not a place you want to be in a situation like this, because that's where if a storm rides, it can cause problems. And that's what we saw in the Delavan area when Kevin had the tornado. That's what we saw with these storms. And so we'll just keep an eye on them there. The tornado watch is in effect. I really still don't think Logan, DeWitt, Piatt, Champaign, Vermilion counties are going to have any issues out of this. Guidance doesn't really bring more storms in. In fact, Seth, you've got the guidance up there. Go ahead and walk us through what you're looking at.
Yeah, so this is the latest hourly update here from the HER model, the high rapid refresh here. And as we take it forward in time, it looks like the storms that are out there are the only ones that are going to remain in place, and everything just kind of stays north and west of here, which is obviously good news to keep those kind of higher impact storms out of the way. There is still some activity expected later on tonight as that cold front moves through. Handful of showers and storms ahead of that line, and then that line kind of sweeps on through. But let's take a look here at another forecast ingredient that kind of will give us an idea of how the threat's going to evolve tonight. So there could be perhaps a strong storm or two within that mess. But as we look here at our atmospheric fuel, you see really those pale colors. There's some instability present, but it really just kind of, this is all kind of just any level of the atmosphere. This isn't necessarily just down there at the surface either. So there's going to be a lot of elevated stuff. There's not going to be a whole lot of that as we get deeper into the night as well. So that kind of just gets eaten up here. And we'll just kind of be more thunder shower activity heading on into Saturday morning. And thank goodness, too, because it has been active here lately. I'd be curious to go back and see how many days we've been in a slight risk over the last month, a slight risk or higher, because it feels like every single week it's been 1 or 2 days that we have a threat, especially what I think drives people nuts is when we have situations like tonight and last night where it's back-to-back nights. Because usually when you get severe weather or severe weather chance to go through, it's like, oh, well, at least it's over. But then you get another system piggybacking off that last one like we're seeing tonight, and it keeps that threat around. So hang in there. Once this is over with, it looks like Easter Sunday and the week ahead is looking good. But not out of the woods just yet, as we still have a handful of these storms roaming around here.
Our morning show joke has been on Sunday, because we haven't really had a lot of sunshine, it felt like. We've got a little bit today, but finally, when the sun rises on Sunday, the sun will also rise.
Exactly. It is, there you go. The sun will rise. Just like how, ironically enough, Wednesday this coming week looks to be the windiest day. Winds Day. There we go. We're full of it. Oh, boy.
All right. People just,
Kevin's
just lost half our viewers.
Kevin's booing me in my ear.
Oh, man.
But, here with these storms, it just looks like things have flattened out a little bit. Currently out there again with the positioning of that warm front. Never say never here, because things position themselves in such a manner where they can kind of be right on the southern end of that front with the winds turning in the correct direction. There's still some action possible here. I love this comment. Nicole just says weather humor, LOL. So
half of Central and I just groaned hearing them.
We're
like,
putting on a show here with our comments. I can display that comment. Yeah, there we go. What? That looks fantastic on the overlay. Thank you, Nicole, for joining in on the humor there with that. Okay. Oh, let's see here. No real good. Let me pull up the view of Bloomington real quick. Again, nothing imminent happening there, but as we kind of look, I believe this is off to the north and west. I'm not super familiar with this camera where it's always pointing, but some activity
That's
out
more
there.
north now.
Yeah, I believe that is correct because I think it's usually looking out.
Yeah, so that's the lodge. You can see 39 on the left there.
Perfect.
And then this is the business 39 over there.
So every now and then when we get some lightning there in the background, you kind of see the structure of that storm. Without the lightning, you kind of see a bunch of flat navy blue colors here. But when that lightning pops up, you can kind of see the difference between the cloud cover we can see closer to the camera and some of the call it lowering there in the distance, just a little bit of action extending off the base of that storm there farther up there to the north. So that's the view from the Bloomington camera at the action up there to the north. Let's see. I haven't shown, and I don't know if I've kept up very well with any sort of actual storm reports. I'm going to pull that up here real quick just to see if there's been any other kind of damage reports in the area that we missed. And of course, some of this is going to be from last night because I believe this goes for the last 48 hours. That might be a little bit of a headache to. So yeah, I'll have another way of doing that because I'll have to tidy that up to 24 hours if we want things to show correctly. But most of the activity, most of anything that has been worth spotting has been up there kind of around that Tazewell, Mason, Peoria, up that way, at least today. Anyway. Let me see actually if I can have a storm report slide. I do. It looks like it needs some heavy editing. Jacob, is there any way you can show some folks a few things? What, maybe tidy up a graphic or two? Would that be possible?
Sure, we can have a little fun. First off, let's look at Kevin. See what he's doing something. Is he trying to find another one of those little
I think he
spots?
is.
Perhaps we're.
Dixie.
He's at the gas station, and I don't know. Can he still hear us at all, Kevin? Is he?
He can hear both of us.
He
yes.
can hear us, Kevin. Why don't we just have you tell us a little bit about where you are and. He's turning. He's embarrassed, I guess, right? What's in that gas station?
Oh, no. So of course I've been traveling, getting my fix on Route 66 here in McLean County, and literally in the town of McLean. So just kind of scooted on over here, and thought I'd just take a quick little stop here. This is, I believe, this was like a Route 66 cafe.
Hey, Kevin.
I'm not sure if it was. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so actually, the Dixie truck stop there was a well-known spot that Al Capone is frequently associated with.
Oh man!
So trouble is back. You are there now.
I'm back. I'm here now. Let's go, people. Get out of the way, okay? Get out of the way. Move on.
All right, Kevin. Well, you plan on just kind of hanging on that way for a little while? Is that the thought process?
Yeah, I'm just kind of. So again, I'm probably south of warm front. So my thermometer shows 73 degrees where I'm at here right now, and window down. I mean, yeah, you can still feel kind of some of that warmth and moisture here. So I'm south of the front. I bet that front's got to be just barely to my north. So again, I'm in McLean.
Yeah, it seems like that front goes right over or just south of the airport.
Okay, yeah. So I'm just here. So what I'm watching, and since we're still in this warm sector, is that storm there north of or south of Petersburg. I think it's starting to get a little bit stronger. That is the only cell that I see that is still north, or I should say south of the warm front. And so as that kind of goes north and east, that may come into Logan County there. We'll see. But I don't know. I don't see a single other cell. It's the only one. So I don't know. I may just kind of watch that one since the models were trying to show all afternoon a cell coming into Logan County because we were making the remark about look out IOX Lincoln Weather Service office there. That storm was plotted on the models all day coming in. So we'll see. There's still some ingredients there left, but yeah, I think all of those other storms now north of the front and becoming elevated, they're not having as great a structure. I will say the one thing about today that was just fantastic. It makes I know the storm chasers of Jacob and Seth are extremely jealous. Is the storms were so slow moving, you could like do anything, and usually you have to. If you make one wrong decision on a road, you're going to get behind it, and you'll be toast. You'll be behind it. You can't catch up to it. But today, with how slow they were moving, you could kind of have your way with it. Sit and watch the storm for a while was also rare. So that was a nice little kind of change of pace from the normal storms that we all usually have to chase, and they're moving 50, 55 miles an hour.
Yeah, Kevin, when it comes to that, it seems like you always get the easy days to go chasing. You make me chasing when storms moving 80 miles an hour. Is that how that goes?
Yes, that's correct. But I would only do that if I knew that I could trust that you would successfully deploy and do well. And so that's why.
Oh yeah, that's totally the case there. So, all right, well, Kevin, you have fun in your Dixie, and have a little rest stop there. We'll keep an eye on that. Actually, Seth, right now, you got one last thing there, Kevin?
Well, I was going to say, has anybody been here before? Do they recommend anything? If I pop in there, we were talking about Uncle Monkeys last night, and now the Dixie here. So
Nicole says excellent breakfast buffet.
Yeah, so apparently got breakfast buffet with that one there. So a little late for that, but we got to do it. The three of us, and we'll get at them if we can get up.
Got to hit up a local joint.
We could do a great digital show for the WCIA 3 Plus app. The three of us, nuts and meals.
Yeah, nuts and meals.
Winging the weather.
Winging the weather. That's the one there. Winging the weather. So, all right, Kevin, I'll let you go, and we'll hopefully not hear from you the rest of the night, but we know you're out there covering things for us. So thanks for what you do, and I'm glad you had a very easy job today getting us that storm. Great job in that tornado crowd as well. Okay, Seth had the Springfield camera up, so I'm going to pop that on in. And Seth, are you ready to take over for a little bit?
Yeah.
To take a peek at things? Go ahead and show that.
Yeah, some extremely well-timed lightning there on the right side of the screen. But this is from Springfield looking to the north and west. Kevin was talking about that storm just kind of south and east of Petersburg. So as long as we have daylight, which we should keep around here for maybe the next 15 minutes or so, we'll be able to kind of see this thing. It doesn't have fantastic structure on it. You can see up towards the top of the screen, you would expect a little bit more of a kind of organized-looking top of the storm there, but still enough of a base there you can kind of be able to make out the darker blue right in the center of the screen where that rain is falling. So again, that's looking to the north and west from Springfield. So we'll be able to watch that storm, see if it does do anything for as long as we have daylight or for as long as the lightning continues on it. We'll be able to see what's happening there closer to the base of that storm. But based on the positioning of everything else right now, it doesn't look like there's anything overly concerning. It looks like a lot of that stuff up there to the north is kind of starting to take a little bit more of a left turn. So the Bloomington normal area not only missed that first one, it looks like things will continue to kind of guide to your north and west a little bit. That's a particular spot of the area that could use some good rain still, but there's not. How do I say this? There's some bad that can come from too much rain. Like it looks like could be happening in a few places up there. So you don't want to throw a ton of rain over a bunch of dry soil because that wouldn't be a good mix as well. But I'm sure they would appreciate the rain up that way as long as they can avoid any sort of storm activity up that way. For anyone that's maybe coming back to their device here after stepping away for a minute, let's do a reset here, show you the radar across the area. It is unimpressive here for us. In fact, almost the entire night, we've only worried about storms from 72 into the north and west. That continues to remain the case. A lot of us have stayed away from this action. A lot of major towns in the area, close to the center of our area, have avoided this. It's all up here, kind of north and west of I-55 right now, is where everything is currently located. So it's kind of bounded by that at the moment. That front racing to the north, kind of seeing storms jump over the top of it. or the front itself continuing to push them up there to the north. So lots of places do not have too much to worry about here if we put these storms in motion. You just kind of see that north and eastward movement on them. So likely kind of guiding things maybe into Livingston County here soon. But these are still slow moving storms that really aren't up to too much here. So the level of concern is rather low. We'll stick around here for a little bit and kind of watch these storms, exit a little bit, maybe see if that little cell in Menard County wants to do anything. But aside from that, like we said, the level of concern not very high right now. There's not a whole lot of urgency here with any of these storms, despite at one point looking very impressive out there to the north and west. Again, Mason, Tazewell County have kind of been the bullseye today with a couple of storms that had tornado warnings on them. Now no longer the case. In fact, those same storms are the ones kind of just meshed together there in northwestern McLean County, but obviously nothing there that is overly alarming right now. A handful of people just kind of asking about what it's going to be like here for their area. With this severe weather threat right now, where the storms are at right now, you're not going to see too much form to the south of that. So if you're kind of talking about Springfield, Decatur, Champaign, Danville, nothing's happening out that way. Everything is to the north of you. So again, no worries as far as any sort of storm coverage out to your guys' way. So, like we said, the level of concern very low, and I think a lot of you on here are kind of not right exactly where the storms are. I haven't had a whole lot of reports of where things are going on right underneath the storm. So I'm sure a lot of you are just kind of asking or jumping on here, kind of wondering if there's anything for your particular location. Again, if it's not where a storm currently is, chances are nothing's going to happen here for you in the next couple of hours. Now, there are a couple of questions about what's happening here with this overnight round. Again, let me show you what that looks like real quick. I'll start by showing the atmospheric fuel, the instability, and kind of what it is going to do here through the night. So you can tell where that one front is right now because you can see where that dark green is there at the top of our highlighted counties, and then where it's just completely gone. That's where that front is. So that is going to be taken care of here before too long. Additional storms don't look to arrive till after midnight. Look what happens to our colors. They get really dull. They get really thin. They start to disappear. There's going to be some instability still. There's going to be some storm fuel still. There will be a little bit packed in to the environment. But when we roll our future track here, again, storm activity going to stay to our west until about midnight or so. Even beyond that, according to this version of future track, yeah, storms may pop. Yeah, they look individual and kind of discrete there, but they're going to be elevated here more likely than not. And it's just not going to bring the same concerns right now. This will maybe bring some hail overnight, obviously some heavy rain at times, and probably plenty of thunder and lightning depending on how that instability stays around. But anything you're seeing on here, very low threat of severe weather. It would be very standard stuff. Maybe it would wake you up in the night. Maybe you'd hear some hail maybe tapping on the roof. But that's about all that we're concerned with these storms here. Different kind of setup with the cold front moving.
As long as it's not you tapping on the roof.
As long as it's not a human being on the roof, I'd say that you are going to be all right here with these storms. It's going to be a nice, wet, rainy Saturday morning. In fact, hopefully, check here real quick what rainfall totals can look like tonight, because that's a widespread rain chance that's going to impact a lot of us here. If we play that out here, data loads, there we go. Put that out, maybe a nice wide swath of 3/4 of an inch, maybe over in some places. So, looking forward to a good rain. So, anyone asking about tonight's round? Main threat, waking you up in the night with some lightning. Maybe there's an alert that goes off on your phone for a severe thunderstorm warning. But that would be very low-end criteria, 60-mile-an-hour gusts, maybe quarter-size hail. It would have to be one of the two for it to prompt a warning. But not a very high level of concern. Okay, no more warnings in the area. So they have canceled that warning in Plain County already. Our Menard County buddy here, not really up to too much, not rapidly strengthening anything like that. So watch it. Maybe it ends up continuing to build up here a little bit, but it's a very slow-looking process at the moment. So the fact that we're warning-free tells me that, there's not really much to follow here right now. So with that being said, I'll kind of scroll through here, make sure there's not any unanswered questions, but That being said, I think we're going to wrap things up here on our severe weather coverage tonight, because from this point onward, maybe there's another storm or two, but nothing area wide. Oh yeah, there you go. So yeah, this is the part of the stream that we've hit the point where I'm able to sit and have the jacket unbuttoned. So you can tell when I'm on this half of the horizontal side of the screen that things are pretty relaxed. We're relaxing, so you should too.
Right, lean back,
Hanging out.
even Kevin, I think, is a little bit more relaxed there. I
Yeah, there you
haven't
go.
seen him walk out yet. I don't know if he-
Yeah, no, if he is.
There he is. He's still sitting there.
Ah.
He's hanging out. I'll be curious to hear his report. Maybe we can get him back to the office to go to the
To the funk or Uncle. I said the
Uncle
funky
Monkeys,
monkey.
yeah.
To Uncle Monkey.
So, all right, Seth.
Yeah, we will wrap things up here. Again, we appreciate you choosing us for your severe weather coverage. Hopefully, this stream the streaming software collects some dust here the next week or so. Hopefully, we don't have to use this a whole lot because, I know a lot of you guys get tired of some severe storms, even though this is our thing. Sometimes when you get these back-to-back days, it's just a lot to prep for, a lot of kind of studying these things. Even we need a break from some of the action. So like I said, hopefully things continue to quiet down here in the week ahead. Easter at least looking very good. So all that being said, meteorologist Jacob Dickey, for Chief Meteorologist Kevin Leidy, I am meteorologist Seth Bonoff, wishing you a good night. We'll see you again tonight on our newscast, 9 o'clock on 49, 10 o'clock on